Hello and welcome back to Vibra. This is Lindsay, and I was doing some light reads tonight, and it inspired me to read to you Modern Money Mechanics. I am on chapter 6 of Melvin Stamper, JD, Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, Secrets That Were Never to Be Revealed. And under this section, Institutions of Blue Smoke and Mirrors, this is why I'm going to read you Modern Money Mechanics from Mr. Stamper. For the past 30 years, I have known that the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank control the entire world economy, not just the United States. Until only recently, however, did I understand the extent of fraud and the far-reaching implications it presents throughout the entire world banking system. I began my research in preparation for writing High Priest of Treason, the Federal Reserve, by talking to judges, bankers, and attorneys about the money and banking system. I was appalled to discover that most of these learned people did not know the truth about our money or banking system. Further, I found that schools of all levels do not teach that banks create money out of thin air. I researched throughout history, accounting, and law books on the high school and college level. The truth is not to be found there. No one I talked to knew that banks create money out of thin air, or they weren't talking if they did. I did find the truth verified in an unlikely source and in a form that cannot be contradicted. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago's own publication, Modern Money Mechanics, and a companion comic book for young children titled The Story of Money. These books have been used as exhibits in lawsuits against banks and are no longer available. However, I got a copy of Modern Money Mechanics, and we're going to dive in. Modern Money Mechanics. The purpose of this booklet is to describe the basic process of money creation in a fractional reserve banking system. The approach taken illustrates the changes in bank balance sheets that occur when deposits in banks change as a result of monetary action by the Federal Reserve System, the central bank of the United States. The relationship shows are based on simplifying assumption. For the sake of simplicity, the relationships are shown as if they were mechanical, but they are not, as is described later in the booklet. Thus, they should not be interpreted to imply a close and predictable relationship between a specific central bank transaction and the quantity of money. The introductory pages contain a brief general description of the characteristics of money and how the U.S. or United States money system works. The illustrations in the following two sections describe two processes. First, how bank deposits expand or contract in response to changes in the amount of reserves supplied by the central bank, and second, how those reserves are affected by both Federal Reserve actions and other factors. A final section deals with some of the elements that modify, or at least in the short run, the simple mechanical relationship between bank reserves and deposit money. Money is such a routine part of everyday living that its existence and acceptance ordinarily are taken for granted. A user may sense that money must come into being either automatically as a result of economic activity or as an outgrowth of some government operation. But just how this happens all too often remains a mystery. And that's where we'll leave this episode. Stay tuned for part 1. What is money?